about the issue of, they have to remove the RV for a couple of days, but then they can bring it back. There are some rules that we have in zoning ordinances that are very difficult to enforce and track. And so whatever we decide to do there, we can just, for the sake of, Scott and his staff will be considerate of that. Keep in mind what can realistically be enforced, and what is the value of the restriction if we're going to have to put so much effort into enforcing it. A good point. Last few sections of Article 3, the site distance requirements. This is often referred to as the clear site triangle or some other term in zoning ordinances. And the point of this is to make sure that at corners, whether it's a residential or business district, what have you, that there are no fences, trees, buildings, or other structures or obstructions that prevent someone who is, stopped at a stop sign or a traffic light from being able to get a good, clear sight line to their left before crossing or merging onto a street. And of course, the type of streets that are involved, we're going to increase the requirement because you're going to have higher speeds involved on a major street versus a major or a local street. And so that's why you see on the graphic on the far left, that's the intersection of an alley and a street. So the requirement is fairly minimal in terms of the setback away from those corners. But as you start dealing with major streets or railroads, there is a much greater sightline requirement.
And I'm gonna let the city engineer look at this one really closely.
Sure, absolutely. This is something that's dealt with in the AASHTO Green Book and other technical manuals that engineers use, but those are not things that a person who's wanting to plant a hedge has easy access to. So we try to put something in the ordinance that is generally consistent with the AASHTO requirements, but that also have the ability to get approval or have the insight from the city engineer in those cases. But we did have in one case the city engineer said, well, let's just put the reference to AASHTO's Green Book in there and leave it at that. And then someone came along later and says, well, how's a property owner who just wants to put up a fence, how are they going to know what the requirement is? They don't have a copy of the AASHTO Green Book. So fair enough. So that's definitely want to get Robbie's input on this section, make sure he's comfortable with it. But we do, I think it's valuable to have set the requirements in here in a way that can be easily understood by not only the people who are administering the ordinance, but the folks who may be looking information up to try and figure out what they can or can't do. Common open spaces and facilities are section 307. This is, as I mentioned before, anytime a development is going to include any type of common open space or a common building or facility, tennis court or clubhouse, swimming pool, whatever the case may be, that there is some type of, with the development application, that they submit information that shows how that piece of property, or that common open space or facility can be managed, who's responsible for it. And then the last part of Article 3 deals with how nonconformities are addressed. There are different sets of rules depending on whether it's a non-conforming lot. So if your lot was subdivided prior to the zoning district, requiring something greater, then it allows you to build on that lot subject to getting approval by the Board of Adjustments as a special exception. This is one of those examples, like Scott mentioned before, we use the term special exception. It's not always a use. It's not always a special use on appeal. This is one of those cases where a special approval by the board is dealing with a nonconformity rather than a use. They've got nonconforming uses. You cannot change to another nonconforming use, but you can change to a conforming use. That's very typical language. I think that's probably similar to what you already have in here. You can't change a nonconforming use in a way that increases its nonconformity. If it is discontinued for a continuous period of more than 365 days, the subsequent use of the property must conform to the use regulations of the district. Non-conforming uses of land, so it's other than a building or a structure, you can't expand it so that it covers more land if it's non-conforming. Non-conforming uses of structures, they cannot be extended or enlarged except into portions of structure that were originally designed for the non-conforming use. And so at the time that it became non-conforming, because maybe the zoning ordinance rules changed. And here's the section that deals with non-residential or non-conforming residential structures. In non-conforming residential structures in any district in which the residential use is not permitted may be enlarged, extended, or structurally altered, provided no additional dwelling units are created, and the extension or alteration complies with all other applicable requirements of this ordinance. We found that a lot of cities have wanted to carve out some allowance for homes that may have at some point in the past been rezoned to a business district for who knows whatever reason. And in recent years, mortgage companies have really tightened down on giving money for reinvestment in any homes that are in a district in which they're not permitted under the zoning ordinance, or even if it requires a variance or a special exception, any risk that decision might not be approved. So cities have tried to create a lot more allowance for any residential uses that just happen to be in a district in which they're no longer permitted, whether it's because of the uses changed in the zoning ordinance, or the zoning district was applied to a piece of property at some point in the past that makes the home non-conforming. So this essentially helps take away the problem, the conflict that you'll have when someone is trying to make improvements to a home in a district in which the residential use is not permitted. So it allows them to, fix it up, renovate, but they can't make more. They can't divide it up into two or add on to have an additional unit. And then non-conforming structures. This is where the ordinance sets the policy about when, if a structure is damaged, how far gone is too far gone. If the structure is not conforming to the ordinance. We have in here proposed that it's 60%. So if it's damaged, exceeding 60% of its value at the time of the damage is incurred, then if it's rebuilt or repaired, then it has to be done in conformity with the district regulations. That is done a little bit differently for dwellings. It says they may be, and this is consistent with the language that's currently in the ordinance, they may be repaired or rebuilt with the footprint and square footage of the existing dwelling, and that repairs and reconstruction must be initiated within 180 days and completed within a year. And that's more or less the existing language that's in here. I know that Scott had some thoughts about that.
All right, I think this is, well, we got a couple minutes. I was thinking we'd wrap up about 4, kind of dwindling. And this is recorded. I'll try to get it out on YouTube or some available source soon. I'm going to share with the planning commissioners. Anybody, public included, comments, send them to me, and I'll send them to Jason. We'll talk them through, and we can discuss them further. Like I said, the schedule, when's the planning commission, the 18th? 17th is planning commission this month. I say there's one subdivision on the agenda, nothing else, so we will take advantage of that short agenda and continue. Probably maybe go over some of any proposed changes or highlights, if you will, and then maybe try to pick up a few more sections on the 17th meeting. So, like I said, this is recorded. I'll get this out or make it available the best way I can soon. And I'll try to start getting the giraffe language on laserfish as well for people to see. So, any final thoughts or comments or questions before we end our fun afternoon? All right. Well, I appreciate it, Jason.
Feel better, Scott.
Yeah.
See you on the 19th.
Take some NyQuil.
Yeah. Sounds like he was the flu.
All right. Like I said, thank you, Alex. I'll probably YouTube or whatever. I don't know the format. Yeah, they haven't put this on YouTube before, so we'll figure that out. I don't know how to do that. Somebody knows. Yeah, thank y'all. Thank y'all. Y'all want water, a snack or something? Got it. Good. Thank y'all.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
I didn't know the
What?
back up.
Want to run?
Pretty good.
Hey, your staff